Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
In 1993, the infamous live-action film adaptation of Super Mario Bros. Was dumped into cinemas to the delight of, well, no one, with Roger Ebert calling it,
"It's a complete waste of time and money."
You would probably assume that Mario's critical and commercial failure would have stopped Hollywood from attempting any more video game adaptations. But as you well know, it didn't. They tried again and again and again. To date, there have been 39 video game-inspired films released since Mario Bros., with plenty more on the horizon. Some of them are decent, while others are just god-awful. But that's not what this video is about. In this series, we're going to take a look at the video game films that got close, but never quite made the jump to the big screen. Starting off with Kane Lynch.
Left is regret. Regret that I'll never get to know you. You are all that matters.
Kane Lynch Dead Men, released on the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC in 2007. Developed by IO Interactive, the same guys that created the Hitman series, Kane Lynch follows the blood-soaked story of two death row inmates. Kane is the brains behind the operation. He's a former mercenary who always has a plan up his sleeve, while Lynch is more of a loose cannon, having to stay medicated or risk hallucinations and violent blackouts due to his mental illness.
You wouldn't.
That's enough.
After their prison transport bus is destroyed by mercenaries, the murderous duo are forced to team up and track down a missing stash of cash. They need the money in order to rescue Kane's wife and daughter, who are being held ransom by a violent criminal organization known as the Seven. From what I remember of it, Kane Lynch was a fun game, if not a little bit flawed, with its best aspects being its story and characters. In some ways, it's almost like the game was made with a film in mind. The odd couple-like relationship between the main characters created an interesting dynamic. The game was sort of almost like a buddy cop movie, only if it starred two psychopaths.
Hey, stop killing hostages.
I'm not!
Snap out of it, Lynch. Snap out of it. What the f*** is that supposed to mean?
It wasn't long until someone saw the cinematic potential of Kane Lynch. In 2007, Lionsgate Entertainment announced a film based on Kane Lynch Dead Men. It was rumored to star two A-list actors, Bruce Willis as Kane and Billy Bob Thornton as Lynch. The screenplay was drafted by Kyle Ward, whose most recent credits include Machete 2 and Underworld Blood Wars. Some rumors even suggested that explosion master Michael Bay would even produce the film. But of course, things didn't go according to plan. First off, even though he would have been a perfect casting for Lynch, Thornton's involvement in the project never actually left the rumors and speculation stage of development, at least as far as I can tell. I imagine that at the very least, there was a conversation with him about the role at some point. However, he was never officially cast in the movie.
Me?
Yeah.
Shit.
True.
No, God, no.
So now the film had its Kane in Bruce Willis, but it still needed its Lynch, especially if it was going to start shooting by late 2008, as originally planned. Several years passed without any substantial news on the film, until 2010, when its writer, Kyle Ward, confirmed on Twitter that the film had found its Lynch, in Jamie Foxx. Pre-production of the film continued, and more details about its plot began to trickle out. The full script for the Kane Lynch film somehow made it out into the wild, specifically into the hands of the writers at Kotaku. Just a quick forewarning, the images of the script contain some mature language. If you're sensitive to that kind of thing, maybe you want to skip ahead a couple seconds here. This movie was definitely going for a hard R rating. Besides not holding back on the swears, the script stays mostly true to the source material, with many of the game's major plot points making the transition to the film. One big difference being that Lynch's mannerisms are much different than they were in the video game. The movie Lynch speaks very eloquently, using big words and being very courteous and proper, a far cry from the video game Lynch, who was brash and anything but polite.
Where the f*** did you come from? Trying to sneak up on me, are you?
The script contains some pretty interesting action set pieces that probably would have transitioned well to the big screen. Like one scene where Kane and Lynch have a shootout in the middle of a crowded area filled with innocent bystanders, with both parties having silenced weapons. The gunfight goes on right under the noses of the bystanders, as they are blissfully unaware of the chaos around them. Bruce Willis was even quoted as saying that Kane Lynch had one of the best action scripts that he had ever read. And Willis probably knows a thing or two about good action movies. Or maybe not. Things looked promising for Kane Lynch. It had a great cast, a solid script, and a distributor, but then it just kinda went away. There would be no news of the film until late 2013, when word broke that both Bruce Willis and Jamie Foxx were out, and in their stead, Gerard Butler and Vin Diesel were in, as Kane Lynch respectively. And that's it. That's the last substantial piece of news that came out regarding this film. As far as I can find, nothing ever came of the Vin Diesel, Gerard Butler casting rumors. The movie was never officially canceled. But let's be real here. This movie isn't gonna leave the shelf. Kane Lynch hasn't been relevant for years, and it's debatable if it was even that relevant back when it was new. This is my opinion, of course, so take it as you will, but the series was just never that popular in the first place. Dead Men was a decent game, and it does have its fan base, but I don't think it ever had the makings of a successful Hollywood blockbuster. Or maybe the lukewarm reception of Kane Lynch 2 Dog Days changed the mind of the decision makers at Lionsgate. Who knows, but for now, the Kane Lynch movie is underwater, and it will probably never resurface. Speaking of underwater, that's exactly where the next episode of this series is headed. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and see you next time.